Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I of course am just another heavy metal maniac, and it's been a while since I posted my last video, so I do apologize for my kind of absence. I will hopefully be back to making more regularly scheduled content very soon. But yeah, today I'm going to be doing something I haven't done for about a month, maybe 2 months even? I don't recall exactly, but I'm going to be doing yet another collection update. Yeah, it took me a while to get around to making this just because I wanted to wait till I got a pretty substantial number of things to talk about, and I feel like I have. I got a big stack of tapes, a big stack of CDs, as well as a couple vinyls that I will be discussing today. So yeah, pretty straightforward. So without further ado, enough of my ramblings, let's just get right into this collection update of mine. And we're going to be starting with the tapes, and we're going to be starting off with an absolute classic that probably really needs no introduction, but we're going to talk about it anyways. Accept, Restless and Wild. This is the fourth studio album from this legendary German heavy metal act. Here is the tape itself. Yeah, really, like I said, this band really doesn't need much of an introduction. I feel like they are one of the most famous, most influential heavy metal bands of all time. And yeah, this album is an absolute classic, frequently cited as like one of the best classic heavy metal albums ever. And really, it's not hard to see why, because yeah, every single track on this album is absolutely incredible. Like the opening track, Fast as a Shark, is absolutely iconic. The title track is awesome. Flash Rockin' Man is a really good song. Neon Nights is really good. And the closing track, Princess of the Dawn, that just got one of my favorite like classic heavy metal riffs ever. Like, this album is just riffs, man. And yeah, pretty much I think this is a flawless album, honestly. I love the album cover too. Hopefully you guys can kind of see it a little bit all right. It is a little bit dark, so I do apologize. But yeah, you know, just them live on stage, really just energetic and really captures the atmosphere of the album perfectly, in my opinion. I think the production for 1983 or 1982, whenever this came out, pretty damn stellar. And yeah, and of course you have, again, Wolf Hoffmann, frankly a riff god. Just the riffs on this album are all really good. I frequently see this album kind of cited as like a big influence for a lot of like thrash metal and like speed metal bands, and it's really not hard to see why, because it really is kind of, you can definitely hear that kind of early roots of that faster metal on this album in particular. And of course, Udo Dirkenschneider's iconic vocals. He was just really adds this kind of like cool sleaziness to the music that I think really just enhances it. And yeah, I believe this might be like an original pressing, at the very least a very early print of it, because yeah, this is, as you can probably see, this is kind of a bit older, but yeah, this was a local record store haul. But yeah, I mean, this album, possibly my favorite Accept album. It's really between this one and Balls to the Wall in terms of which one I like more, but this is an absolutely classic album. If you've not heard this, you are really missing out, and you should probably reconsider your life choices, because honestly, again, this album it's a classic. If you like stuff like Judas Priest, Motorhead, Saxon, pretty much just classic heavy metal in general, check this out. You will not be disappointed. It is an absolutely classic album. Bethlehem, Liebe dich leer. Apologies if I said that incorrectly, because my German is absolutely horrible. And but regardless, this is the newest studio offering from this German black metal / kind of doom metal act. I really like this cassette too. It's like this very sleek kind of gray color. I don't know why. I just think that's really cool. But yeah, Bethlehem are one of my like all-time favorite bands, and I desperately need to get more Bethlehem stuff in my collection, but I finally have one of their albums at least. Like I said, this is their newest album overall. Like I said, black metal, doom metal. A lot of these bands frequently cited as like, excuse me, kind of like one of the early pioneers of the whole depressive, suicidal black metal kind of sound. And really, yeah, that's definitely these guys were definitely very influential in that whole style, especially with their like first two albums. Very influential to that movement. And yeah, this album I think is just absolutely killer. I'm not going to try to pronounce any of the song titles because they're all in German, and I don't speak German at all, so I'll spare you my horrible pronunciation. But yeah, this is their, I believe there's, if I recall correctly, this is their second album to feature O'Neill from another band I love, Dark Nocturne Slaughter Cult, on the vocals. And she's honestly one of my favorite black metal vocalists. She does such a great job, and she knocks it out of the park on this album, frankly. Like, she just has this perfect kind of like manic delivery, which really this band kind of has a manic vibe overall. And that's always been a big part of their sound, the kind of mixture of like the very manic, almost kind of psychotic kind of vibes, but also with a real kind of melancholic atmosphere and stuff, and which fits perfectly because this band's lyrics are all about, you know, depression, suicide, insanity, you know, all that fun, heartwarming stuff. But yeah, this album I think is an absolute banger. I wouldn't necessarily say this is my favorite Bethlehem album. I don't think it's quite up there with like dark metal or Schatten aus der Alexanderwelt. Again, apologies for my horrible German. But regardless, this is an absolutely killer album, and yeah, super glad I finally have one Bethlehem album in my collection. Also, kind of off topic, one of my favorite logos in black metal. I don't know, I just think this band's logo is absolutely killer. But yeah, Bethlehem, Liebe dich Leer, killer album. Alright, next up is an album I actually already own, just on a different format. I actually talked about this album in my previous collection update, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but it is Flotsam and Jetsam's No Place for Disgrace. And yeah, like I said, I already own this album on vinyl, but now I have the cassette as well, which is, you know, pretty nice. Here, I'll just pop over to show you the cassette itself. Like I said, not going to spend too much time on this one, because I already talked about this one at length in my previous collection update, but this is one of my all-time favorite thrash albums. Pretty much every track on here, aside from maybe like the Elton John cover is kind of goofy, but aside from that, this album is pretty much flawless in my opinion. I love this album, one of my all-time favorite thrash albums again. Flotsam and Jetsam, No Place for Disgrace, absolutely killer album. This next album I have not shown off before, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit longer. I'm going to get into some more death metal now. This is Mortal Decay with Forensic. This is their second studio album from this New Jersey-based brutal / technical death metal band, and this is honestly like one of my favorite. Well, first of all, I really like this packaging. Like, it's got this very kind of bold green color, but then the cassette itself is this really awesome blue. I don't know, I just really like that. I think it's like, get back in there, you. Super pretty. But yeah, this is honestly one of the most flat out unsettling death metal albums I have ever heard. Because obviously, all this band, there's obviously a lot of death metal bands out there that sing about stuff like, you know, gore and serial killers and stuff like that, but this album, it honestly feels like you are inside the mind of a serial killer. It's very cerebral, very psychological. It feels very pathological, and it's kind of just genuinely like an album that kind of gets into your head and just kind of doesn't leave while you're listening to it. Yeah, I think this album is honestly, like, flawless. Again, the production, I think, is pretty, it's kind of like maybe a bit standard for brutal death metal, but I think it sounds pretty good. The vocals on this album are absolutely unhinged. Like, Johnny Paolini, he does kind of like the very low, like, frog-like vocals, which usually I'm not the biggest fan of in death metal, but I think he pulls them off exceptionally well, and he throws in like kind of the hardcore shouts every now and again, which gives cool dynamics to his vocals, and it's not just like one long, monotonous like frog burp. And yeah, again, musically, it's brutal, it's very technical. There's obviously a lot of stuff I would compare this to, like, obviously Suffocation is probably the most #1 comparison, but also I'd say like Deeds of Flesh, Malignancy, maybe like a little bit like kind of Pyrexia as well, although definitely I'd say a little less groove-oriented than Pyrexia, but regardless, this is Defeated Sanity is also probably another one I would say too. Every single track on here I think is absolutely killer. Like the opening track, My Mind Bleeds Tragedies, is really good. Monkey Cage, Beyond Forensic Knowledge, Razor Slice Decor, Brutalized and Defiled, that song rips. Yeah, I absolutely love this album. This is without a doubt my favorite album by this band. Not necessarily the world's longest discography, but this album is absolutely amazing. And yeah, honestly, one of my favorite albums, not just like in terms of like brutal death metal, but in like death metal in general. I think this is honestly a flawless album. Those of you who watch Jimmy from the Block, you know, great metal YouTuber, you'll know this is his favorite album of all time, and I can honestly see why, because this album is honestly perfect. I love it personally. So yeah, Mortal Decay, Forensic, absolutely awesome album. Again, if you like any of the bands that I mentioned, Suffocation, Defeated Sanity, Malignancy, Deeds of Flesh, all those bands, check this out. This is an absolutely killer album. So next up, we actually have two albums here by the same band, and I'm just going to start off with the first one. We have Sacrifice with Torment in Fire. This is the debut album. Oh, sorry, here. Yeah, there we go. This is the debut album from this Ontario-based thrash metal act. Pretty legendary thrash metal act, I'd say. These guys are, you know, kind of cited as one of the big four of the Canadian thrash alongside Annihilator, Razor, and Voivod. And yeah, this is just their absolutely nasty debut. This album definitely stands out in their catalog for just being kind of like flat out heavy, honestly. Like, you don't really get a lot of the more technical or progressive elements that they would embrace on their later albums, but you just get, like, again, flat out heaviness. Like, there's a lot of stuff on this album that I would honestly compare to, like, proto death metal, like, sort of like kind of like similar to Possessed and like Dark Angel a little bit, where it's just that, again, just that flat out heavy kind of thrash. Mid-80s thrash, but also there's even like a little bit of kind of like that, dare I say, first wave black metal kind of sound on this as well. Like, there's honestly stuff on here I would compare more to like Sarcophago or like Celtic Frost, that kind of, again, more first wave kind of black metal sound. It's not like the most prominent thing on here, but it's definitely there in like little spurts. Yeah, so while I think this is, again, very different sounding album than their later material, especially like the next two albums that would come out later, I still absolutely love this album. Like, absolutely awesome tracks on here, like Turn in Your Grave, Warrior of Death, Burned at the Stake, The Exorcism, Possession. Yeah, no, this is an absolutely killer album. Yeah, if you've not heard this and you're a fan of, I'd say, you know, Slayer, Dark Angel, Possessed, Sarcophago, check this out. This is an absolutely killer album. Love the album art, too. This is honestly probably my favorite artwork this band ever had. I just think it's a really killer artwork. But yeah, Torment in Fire, absolutely killer album. Now, in addition to Torment in Fire, we also have Sacrifice's sophomore album, Forward to Termination. So yeah, like I said, this is their sophomore album. This is also a really pretty colored cassette as well. It's this nice green color. So yeah, I guess I've kind of completed the holy trinity of Sacrifice, because I also own Soldiers of Misfortune as well. So yeah, that's kind of like the holy trinity of Sacrifice. And this is the album that kind of represented a bit of a shift in their sound. This is where they started to lean much heavier into the more, again, the more technical, progressive side of thrash. The songs were much more kind of intricate. I think the production was a bit of a step up from Torment in Fire. Like, it was kind of more crisp, not as like gangy, and a little bit more, you know, bit more clarity in the production. And but yeah, dude, the songs on this album I think are just all absolutely killer. Like, every single track on here is honestly awesome. Like, all the riffs on this album really are awesome. Robert Benatti's vocals, again, took a bit of a higher register, I feel like. Again, it's not as like flat out heavy, but dude, every single song on here is killer. Like Terror Strikes, Afterlife, Flames of Armageddon, Forever Enslaved, Light of the End, Pyrokinesis. Yeah, dude, this album is absolutely killer. Really, it's very close to Soldiers of Misfortune in terms of being my favorite Sacrifice album, but I lean a little bit more towards Soldiers of Misfortune. But regardless, I still absolutely love this album. And yeah, again, if you've not heard this band, you are desperately missing out, because this band is just absolutely killer. All their albums are really good. I reviewed the last album. I thought it was an absolute banger. And yeah, I really dig this album. If you like stuff like, again, Dark Angel is another strong comparison, Slayer, but also say a little bit of like, maybe Sadist a little bit, Coroner, just kind of, again, that kind of more like technical kind of thrash, maybe even some like Death Angel kind of stuff as well, and Razor. Razor's another very apt comparison. If you like any of those bands, check this out. This is an absolutely essential album, in my opinion. I love it. All right, down to our second to last tape of today, and it is Satanic War Master, Exaltation of Cruelty. This is the newest album. I believe this is his 7th album overall, 7th or 8th. I don't remember exactly. Correct me if I am wrong, but I believe this is his 7th album overall. And yeah, this is the 7th album from this legendary, you know, Finnish black metal project, one-man band. Really, I've said this before, but to me, Werewolf and Shoutrog, those two guys pretty much are the Finnish black metal scene, for being honest. Like, they own all the labels. They're in all the bands, basically. But yeah, this album is absolutely killer. This album came out in December of last year, which really, you know, kind of a surprise, because really, you know, usually December is a pretty dry month for releases, just because, you know, like, no bands release albums in December. But this, he just kind of dropped this out of nowhere, which was kind of a really nice surprise for like the end of the year. But yeah, pretty much, I think all the tracks on this album are very killer. Black Circle of Death, I Inhale the Cruelty of Winter's Breath, Behold the Infernal Kingdom of Hell, and the closing track, Dead Rose for a Dying World. That song is absolutely awesome. Yeah, the very raw production. It's just got this, you know, that very cold, very kind of grim atmosphere on this album. I would say this album is definitely a little bit different than I feel like the previous album, because I feel like the previous album focused a little bit more on like kind of melody and a little bit more, it wasn't as like raw So that's kind of what I really like about this band, honestly, is that just, you know, really every album is different from each other, and I think that's just, you know, a really, really cool thing. But yeah, this is an absolutely killer album. I don't know if I don't know if I necessarily say it's my favorite Satanic War Master album, but it is pretty damn awesome. And yeah, overall, I dig this album. If if you've not heard this and you're a fan of just Finnish black metal in general, like Sargeist, Torna, Behäxen, shit like that, check this out. I think you'll probably dig it because I dig the hell out of it personally. And yeah, Exaltation of Cruelty, awesome album. And the final tape we're going to be discussing today, it is Vehemence with their album God Was Created. This is the second studio album from this Arizona-based melodic death metal band. And yeah, even though this band is a melodic death metal band, they are fucking heavy. Hey, here's another very cool tape. I just love the color schemes on all these tapes, honestly. They're really, really cool. Get back in there. There we go. And yeah, so like I said, this is their second studio album, and yeah, I absolutely love this album. Admittedly, when it comes to melodic death metal, it's not my favorite subgenre of death metal. Like, I prefer, you know, like brutal death metal or blackened death metal or like death thrash, stuff like that, but I do still like it. But I really gravitate a lot towards this style specifically of melodic death metal, because again, even though it's very melodic and there's great melodies all throughout this album, it's also just flat out heavy. Like, the production of this album is way more just like kind of old school, raw death metal production. The vocals on this album, for the most part, aren't like those kind of more higher register melodic death metal vocals. They're mostly more kind of just those very low traditional death metal gutturals. And yeah, every single track on this album is absolutely killer. Again, like She Never Noticed Me is a really cool song. Fantasy from Pain. Christ, I Fucking Hate You. Bit kind of a goofy song title, but that's a real ripper of a song. Last Fantasy of Christ and I Must Not Live, The Lord's Work. Yeah, so admittedly, some of the lyrics on this album can feel a little bit kind of, you know, because this band's whole thing is just basically, you know, religion bad, Christianity bad. So some of the lyrics can feel a bit hammy, I feel like. But aside from that, they don't like ruin the album at all, because this is still, again, just flat out brutal melodic death metal. And I really, really dig it personally. This is probably my favorite album by this band, but I don't know, I really love the two albums that came out after as well. But yeah, Vehemence, God Was Created. If you are a fan of definitely Intestine Ballism, I think is the most apt comparison, but also Argoslant, you know, Grenadier. If you like any of those bands, it's kind of like the heavier melodic death metal bands, check this out. I think this is definitely a release that is very much worth your time. All right, so that is all of the tapes out of the way. I'm going to take a quick little sippy sip before I continue. All right, now we're going to be... Now we're going to be moving on to the CDs. And our first CD, we're going to be sticking with some more death metal. We have Benediction with Transcend the Rubicon. Sorry, hopefully you can see it because it's a little bit dark. Hopefully you guys can see this all right. But yeah, this is the third studio album from these UK death metal veterans. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this band really kind of needs much of an introduction. Here, I can show you the inside right there without this little card in the way. But yeah, first of all, I love the artwork on this album. Like, this is honestly one of my favorite Dan Seagrave artworks. I don't know, I love the color scheming, and I love just kind of like, I don't know, I just think it's I honestly think it's one more of Dan Seagrave's underrated album artworks, because really, I think it's just absolutely killer. But yeah, as I was saying, this is the third album from these UK death metal veterans, and yeah, I think this is, again, possibly my favorite album by this band, but I don't know. Benediction are just a really killer band overall, and they have some really, really strong albums, but this is without a doubt one of their best works. The production is pretty damn stellar, I feel like, and this is just classic, you know, groovy, heavy, you know, death metal with just awesome riffs, and Dave Ingram's amazing vocals. Like, he's just a kick-ass vocalist, and yeah, every single track on this album I think is absolutely killer. Like, Unfound Mortality is really killer. Night Fear is awesome. Paradox Alley, I Bow to None, Face Without a Soul, Wrong Side of the Grave. Yeah, no, I really, really dig this album. This is an absolutely killer album. If you've not heard this, you are, again, missing out big time. If you like Obituary, Bolt Thrower, kind of the more death metal era of like Napalm Death, I highly, highly recommend this album. You'll probably dig the shit out of it, like I do. And also, kind of just, I want to point out, Benediction also has one of, sorry about the glare, Benediction has like one of the coolest logos in death metal, honestly. I don't know, I just love their logo. Yeah, this album, pretty damn killer. I really, really dig it. Again, possibly my favorite, but I don't know. There's a few Benediction albums that are like really, really strong, but this is definitely one of their strongest. Highly recommend. Again, if you like any of the bands I mentioned, check this out. You will not be disappointed. Demolition Hammer, Epidemic of Violence. This is the second studio album from this New York-based thrash metal act, and yeah, this album is fucking amazing. Here's the inside of it. Like, dude, this album is one of my all-time favorite thrash metal albums. Not actually, this was in my top 50 favorite metal albums of all time video back when I made that, about a year ago at this point. Jesus Christ, I should remake that. But yeah, this album is one of my all-time favorite metal albums. Like, again, this album, it's a thrash album, but it is fucking brutal, honestly. Like, this came out in 1992, and this was kind of, 1992, in my opinion, was kind of like really the last kind of strong year for thrash, and then after that, it was kind of like when the decline started to happen. But yeah, also 1992, obviously, you know, thrash metal was kind of, this is when thrash metal was starting to wane, and death metal very much had kind of taken its place at this point, I feel like, in terms of like the more extreme metal. But this is one of those albums that kind of helped usher in death metal in a way, I feel like, because this is almost, a lot of this is very, very close to death metal. Like, the production, it's crisp and clean, but also just devastating. And yeah, dude, all the riffs on this album and the vocals, like, you get so many like death metal tremolos and death metal breakdowns. Like, this fits right alongside bands like Devastation and Morbid Saint, even like Protector, in terms of just those thrash bands that helped usher in death metal and very, very close to death metal. But yeah, every single track on this album is fucking killer. But if I had to pick some of my favorites, like the opening track, Skull Fracturing Nightmare, that song just immediately kicks the door down and just is out to fucking hurt you right off the bat. Human Dissection, Pyroclastic Annihilation, Carnivorous Obsession, Aborticide. This also features a bunch of live tracks, which I think is cool too, from their mostly from their debut album, Tortured Existence, which I love Tortured Existence, but I think this was a slight, ever so slight improvement on Tortured Existence. Definitely on the production front, it got, you know, again, more crisp, more clean, but still just fucking out to hurt you. This album is just out to hurt you, and I love it for that. Yeah, no, again, if you like stuff like Morbid Saint, if you like stuff like Devastation, Protector, even like some kind of like earlier, like more thrashy death metal bands, like I feel like if you like early Death, early Morbid Angel, early Massacre, you'll probably dig this. This is a really, really killer album. Again, one of my all-time favorite thrash albums. It's just, again, it's just devastating. It is out to hurt you. It's out to absolutely wreck your neck and your balls and probably spin kick you in the face. And I love it for that. Epidemic of Violence, absolute banger of an album. Love it. Next up, we have Drutk with their debut, Forgotten Legends. Yeah, Drutk are possibly my favorite black metal band. I kind of always say that they kind of are my favorite black metal band, but the very, very, very minimum, they are top 3. And yeah, this is still one of my favorite Drutk albums. Here, I'll pop this open too, because get a look at this CD. That is just absolutely beautiful artwork. I love that. But yeah, honestly, if I were to rank Drutk, this would still probably be like in my top 3 Drutk albums, because I love this album. Only 4 tracks on here, but they're all absolutely killer. And again, this is, you know, Drutk, again, if you know Drutk style, you know, it's atmospheric, folky, kind of black metal. And again, only 4 tracks on here, but they're all killer. Like the opening track, False Dawn, it's this giant, like 15-minute epic of a song, and that is just absolutely killer, and I love it. But also, again, Forest and Fire and Gold, Turn of the Wheel, Smell of Rain, every single track on this album is flawless. I think the production is pretty damn stellar as well. Again, Blood in Our Wells will probably forever be my favorite Drutk album, but this is, again, way, way, way up there. Probably top 3, bare minimum, probably top 5. I think this debut captures everything Drutk does well, and yeah, I absolutely love this album. If you're not familiar with Drutk, this would honestly be a pretty damn fine place to start, I feel like, just because, again, this album captures everything Drutk does well, and, you know, I love this album. If you like stuff like obviously kind of Burzum and, like, Nocturnal Mortem are, like, pretty fair comparisons, but I also say, like, early Ulver, even, like, a little bit like Agalloch, maybe, again, that kind of more atmospheric, folky kind of black metal. Check this out. You will probably dig it, because I mean, this is arguably one of the like bands in that whole style. But yeah, Thrud Forgotten Legends, killer debut. Next up, we actually have a soundtrack album. So this is like, I believe, the first like kind of more compilation album I featured in one of these collection updates. But yeah, this is actually a soundtrack album, and it is the soundtrack to the film Heavy Metal, which yeah, this was another local record store haul. And yeah, Heavy Metal, if you guys have not seen that movie, you're missing out big time again, because that movie is absolutely awesome, and this soundtrack is pretty damn killer as well. Here, I guess I'll pop it open, get a look at, the artwork is absolutely awesome, because I mean, yeah, the artwork in the movie itself is fucking killer. But yeah, featuring songs, you have, let's see, you have the song Heavy Metal by Sammy Hagar, which that song's pretty damn good. Veteran, The Psychic Wars by Blue Oyster Cult. 2 Cheap Trick songs, Reach Out and I Must Be Dreaming, which I'm admittedly a giant Cheap Trick fan. I love Cheap Trick. You also have Nazareth's Crazy, Journey's Open Arms, Grand Funk Railroad's Queen Bee, and you have kind of, even though it's called heavy metal, really kind of the only song on this soundtrack that I would argue is flat out heavy metal is the Mob Rules by Black Sabbath. Which, yeah, I mean, again, featuring, one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs, honestly, which, yeah, you feel like they would have gone with one of the more Ozzy tracks, but I guess, this movie did come out in 1981, so, but yeah, them going with one of the Dio songs, I think, is absolutely awesome. Yeah, for the most part, I really dig this soundtrack, and again, it perfectly fits in the movie as well. I love the movie, and the soundtrack is absolutely killer. I'd say there's only really one track on here that I don't like, and that's the lone song by Devo, Working in the Coal Mine. That's just because I don't like Devo, really, at all, honestly. But yeah, aside from Devo, this soundtrack is absolutely killer, and yeah, again, great movie, great soundtrack. If you've not seen the movie, I'd highly recommend it, and if you have not heard the soundtrack either, listen to it, because it's killer. Come on, Blue Oyster Cult, Cheap Trick, Nazareth, Grand Funk Railroad, Black Sabbath. Awesome, killer bands. But yeah, love the soundtrack, love the movie. Yeah, pretty damn killer. Alright, and we're going to be moving away from metal entirely for just one album here. Or, well, there's going to be another one, but one album for now that is not metal really at all, but I still really like it, and I'm glad I have a copy. It is John Cougar Mellencamp with his album Scarecrow. This is the, I believe, 8th studio album, if I recall correctly, from John Mellencamp, or whatever you want to call him, because he's gone by there's so many different names. Like, he was Johnny Cougar, and then he was John Mellencamp, and then he was John Cougar Mellencamp. I don't know. He's gone under so many fucking different names. But yeah, kind of, folk rock, country, heartland, roots rock, whatever you want to call it. I think this is a really solid album. I've been a fan of John Mellencamp since I was kind of, a little bit younger. Like, John Mellencamp was kind of like one of the, like, more rock-oriented artists I got into kind of earlier on in my, musical journey. And I've always liked his style. I've always liked his kind of, very gruff kind of vocals. And I've always really dug this album as well, just because, it's kind of got this whole, obviously, it's kind of got this very just kind of melancholic, sad vibe all throughout it, just because, it's all about, like, the death of the American dream and all that stuff, and about, the kind of the struggles of, the working class, Midwest American life. And, but yeah, I think this album is absolutely killer. Like, the opening track, Rain on the Scarecrow, is a banger of a song. Small Town, Minutes to Memories, Face of the Nation, Justice and Independence 85. I really dig this album. Again, not metal at all, so maybe kind of a little bit of a, a shift, kind of a little bit of a out of left field maybe for, like, this channel, because we always talk about, metal and stuff. But I really like this album. Yeah, if you like stuff like, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, you probably already like John Mellencamp. But if you haven't heard him, definitely recommend him. I think this is a perfectly fine place to start. It's, again, killer, heartland rock, roots rock, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a really good album. John Cougar Mellencamp, Scarecrow, it's a great album. Alright, getting back to some more metal now, we're going to be talking about Marduk with Panzer Division Marduk. This is the legendary 6th studio album from this Swedish black metal band, and yeah, I absolutely love this album. This is kind of, admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, digipacks, but I think this is kind of cool packaging, and I mean, right off the bat, that album cover, like, this album is iconic. It is one of the most kind of, I'd say beloved black metal albums, but honestly, this album is weirdly divisive with a lot of people. Like, there are some people who flat out hate this album. Like, even, like, people who are, like, Marduk fans who flat out hate this album. And I'm just like, the fuck are you on about? Like, this album is absolutely killer. Every single track on here is awesome. Like, the opening track, Panzer Division Marduk, just comes in, again, just crushes you. It's just, this album is just flat out heavy, pure intensity and aggression, not, you know, just, again, pure heaviness. Christ-raping black metal is amazing. Scorched Earth, 502, Fist fucking God's Planet, the closing track is absolutely amazing. Like, yeah, this album is just focused on, you know, kind of, this is where kind of I feel like Marduk really kind of became, like, the Marduk that we kind of know today, because this is, again, this album is just, there's no, like, emphasis on melody or atmosphere really at all. This album is just focused on being flat out heavy and intense, and it does that exceptionally well. Yeah, no, this was third on my list when I ranked Marduk, and yeah, I stand by that. I absolutely love this album. Again, some people hate this album for some reason, which I don't get personally, but again, you know, to each his own. But yeah, I absolutely love this album. Again, this is like one of the classic black metal albums. If you've not heard this band, you're missing out big time. But yeah, if you like stuff like, you know, like Watain, maybe a little bit of like Impaled Nazarene, definitely some, even though this band is Swedish, they definitely have some very strong kind of like Finnish black metal vibes, I feel like, whereas again, that's just kind of focused on being just intense and brutal and heavy. This album is absolutely awesome. I love this album. Panzer Division Marduk, classic, essential black metal in my opinion. Absolutely love it. Molested, Blod Drom. This is the lone full-length album from this Norwegian death metal act, and yeah, this album kind of has, this album actually features, I believe, members of Borknagar and Gorgoroth as well. I actually believe one of these guys actually went on to be like a live member of Ancient for a little bit too, which is kind of interesting, but yeah, Molested, Blod Drom, again, one and done Norwegian death metal band, and this is an absolutely killer album. Like, really, it's just very riffy, very kind of, a little bit kind of incantation-y worship, a little bit, like, I don't know, this album is kind of strange a little bit. Like, you get kind of the very incantation style death metal, but you also get little hints of kind of that more black metal evilness kind of creeping in as well. There's kind of like more epic moments. There's kind of more folk moments on this album. You get even kind of some of the more, dare I say, a little bit kind of avant-garde-y kind of weirdness as well. It's a really strange album, but it's also a very, very excellent album. Like, you know, I like pretty much all the tracks on here. Well, I say pretty much all the tracks. I think this album is fucking brilliant, frankly. Like, Strife 1 at Wraith, Along the Misty Morass, again, Following the Growls, Hate from Miasma Storms, Forlorn as a Mist of Grief. Yeah, no, I really, really, really dig this album. Like, this whole style of death metal just really kind of clicks with me. Actually, I read a YouTube comment that kind of described this album as like a blackened incantation, and honestly, that's I feel like a fair way to describe it. But again, you get other elements as well. Like, really, this is just again, it's a strange death metal album, but it's a fucking amazing death metal album as well. You know, shame they never put out another full length, because I feel like this band would have gone on to do absolutely brilliant things. Like, I feel like they could have been like the Norwegian Chasm had they kind of continued, but alas, their one album, they broke up not long after. But yeah, I absolutely dig this album. If you like stuff like, again, Incantation, The Chasm, Demigod, Infestor, pretty much all those bands where they're kind of like the super cavernous, super kind of just kind of evil kind of death metal, but again, you get a little of the more progressive kind of avant-garde stuff on this album as well. Check this out. I think you'll dig it. I personally dig the shit out of it, and yeah, super, super happy that I finally got my hands on a copy. Molested, Blod Drom, killer, killer, killer album. Queensryche, Empire. This is the fourth studio album from this legendary Washington progressive metal, power metal, heavy metal act. And yeah, this is kind of the last Queensryche album that I would say was like of their golden era. Because even though there are apparently some Queensryche fans who, again, don't like this album, I personally don't get not liking this album, because I love this album personally. Like, yeah, it's a little bit more commercial. It's a little bit more, I'd say, more focused on kind of just like rock hooks rather than like flat out heavy metal hooks or flat out kind of, you know, progressive songwriting. But honestly, I kind of compare this album to like early 80s kind of Rush. I feel like there's comparisons I could easily make on this album between Empire and like Moving Pictures, where yeah, it's not as progressive and it's kind of more focused on songs that are just hooky and songs that are catchy, but it's just done so well that I can't help but love it. Like, dude, songs like Best I Can, The Thin Line, Jet City Woman, come on, that song's a classic. Never Rainy Night Without You, Silent Lucidity, that's like one of the best power ballads ever written, in my opinion. Anybody listening, you know, I absolutely love this album. Again, this was kind of like the last really amazing Queensryche album. Like, Promised Land was pretty decent, not as strong, but it was decent. And then after that, everyone knows the story of Queensryche. I feel like where they were just, they just took a fucking nosedive into grunge, alternative, whatever. It was bad. But yeah, no, this album, absolutely killer. I love this album. I've kind of completed, I guess, the holy quadrilogy of Queensryche albums, because I have, you know, all the first 4 albums now, which are, I'd still say are their best material. But yeah, Empire, I love this album. It's just, again, it's just hooky. It's just, all the songs are so damn catchy. Like, yeah, I love this album. Queensryche, Empire, yeah, no, I mean, no, let's just say it's just a killer album. All right, next up, we actually have a band I was not familiar with at all. This was a free little promotional CD that I got in a Hell's Headbangers order, actually. And it is Sawed Apart with their debut EP, Bone Harvester. Yeah, no, this is a really, really killer EP. It came out February 2025, so yeah, this is basically brand new. And yeah, this is an absolutely killer album, in my opinion. I really, really dig it. Yeah, no, again, it's only an EP. Like, I believe it's only about 16 or 18 minutes long, so fairly short. But this is just some nasty, kind of rotten, old school death metal. Like, it's just kind of got that very raw, heavy sound. It's just kind of like, you know, just kind of gross, kind of just, I would say not quite like brutal death metal, but it definitely leans a little bit more into the brutal side. But yeah, this is just flat out nasty, gross, old school death metal. I'm gonna see if I can find like a proper like CD like case for it, because yeah, because it's just this and in this little cardboard slip. I'm gonna see if I can maybe find like a proper case for it. But yeah, as a little promotional, you know, thing, I think this is really, really killer. Yeah, because I would have probably never discovered this band had it not been for it, you know, landing in a Hell's Headbangers box that I got. But yeah, yeah, I'd say if you like stuff like I don't know, maybe like kind of Autopsy, that kind of like, just kind of like, you know, real kind of gross kind of style of death metal, you'll probably dig this. I think it's a really awesome album. Yeah, Sawed Apart, Bone Harvester, really, really, really solid EP. Solitude Aeternus, Through the Darkest Hour. This is the 3rd album from this Arlington, Texas-based doom metal act. And yeah, Solitude Aeternus are one of my all-time favorite bands. In terms of me getting into metal, especially doom metal, Solitude Aeternus was such a huge band for me. And I love everything this band has done, and this album is absolutely killer. A little bit of a shift in their sound, you could argue, because like the first 2 albums, like Into the Depths of Sorrow and Beyond the Crimson Horizon, are just flat out like Candlemass worshipping kind of epic doom, like very much in the vein of Candlemass. They're very epic, they're very grandiose, like the scale of those albums is just massive. This is kind of toned down the grandiosity a little bit, kind of toned down the epicness a little bit. It kind of just went for more a focus on just kind of, you know, the big, chuggy kind of doom riffs. Definitely kind of some more kind of like traditional doom metal elements on this album. Like, there's stuff on here that I would say is a bit closer to stuff like Trouble or Pentagram or Saint Vitus, Count Raven, kind of stuff like that. But regardless, it's not, even though it's a bit of a shift, it's not like it's not like a downgrade by any means, because this album is absolutely amazing. Every single song on here is absolutely incredible. The opening track, Falling, is a really killer song. Haunting the Obscure, The 8th Day Mourning, and The 9th Day Awakening, kind of a nice kind of duo on this album as well. Pawns of Anger is an awesome song, and the closing track, Shattered My Spirit. That's kind of like the song where you get kind of more of the kind of epicness and more of the grandiosity back, because it's just this epic but very sorrowful kind of song as well. I think the production of this album is absolutely stellar. Again, it's just very riffy, very heavy, but yeah, dude, every single song here is killer. Robert Lowe, that dude is just such an amazing vocalist. One of my all-time favorite vocalists in metal, frankly, and he does a fantastic job on this album. Yeah, Through the Darkest Hour, I absolutely love this album. Yeah, if you've not heard this, again, you're missing out big time, but if you like stuff like Candlemass, Trouble, Pentagram, Saint Vitus, obviously Black Sabbath, Witchfinder General, check this out. This is absolutely amazing. Again, I think the first 2 albums are maybe slightly better, but I adore this album. Yeah, this is, yeah, I mean, one of my favorite albums I've talked about in this video so far. But yeah, Through the Darkest Hour, I love this album. All right, down to our second to last CD, and we're going to be deviating once again, talk about something that is not metal at all, but is still killer. Steely Dan, Asia. This is the sixth album. I actually don't remember. I believe this is either their fifth or their sixth album. From this, genre-wise, Steely Dan is kind of hard to classify. Honestly, I guess you could call them yacht rock, but I don't know if that term's like kind of derogatory or not. Like, again, it's jazz fusion, progressive rock, progressive pop, whatever you want to call them. Steely Dan are just an absolutely amazing band, and I love this album. Like, again, I think Can't Buy a Thrill is probably always going to be my favorite Steely Dan album, but this is honestly not that far behind. Like, songs like Black Cow, the title track, Deacon Blues, Home at Last, I Got the News. You know, I love sound. It's kind of got that, you know, kind of chill, relaxed kind of vibe. But, you know, it's also, the lyrics are all super cool and stuff. Like, I just really love this band's style of, you know, again, jazz fusion, pop, progressive, rock, whatever you want to call it. Kind of hard to classify, but it is an absolutely amazing album. Yeah, I love this album. Again, Can't Buy a Thrill is probably always going to be my favorite Steely Dan album, but this is way, way up there for me too. Yeah, no, Steely Dan, Asia, amazing album. Love it. All right, and the final CD we're going to be talking about today is Trouble, Manic Frustration. This is the fifth studio album from this legendary Chicago doom metal act. And yeah, I love this album personally. Here's a kind of cool little slipcase CD. Yeah, first of all, I love the artwork. I just think this album cover is absolutely amazing. A little bit of a shift in kind of like, honestly, this album is similar to Through the Darkest Hour in the sense that it marks a bit of a shift in Trouble sound. This is definitely way more kind of, you know, 60s, 70s kind of psychedelia. Kind of, you know, a lot more kind of 70s, 60s rock influence on this album. It's not focused on being, it's not as like flat out doomy or flat out heavy, but regardless, I still absolutely love this album. Some of my all-time favorite Trouble songs are on this album, like Come Touch the Sky, the opening track is killer. Tragedy Man is one of my favorite songs of all time, frankly. Memories Garden, the title track, Mr. White, and the closing track, Breathe, is like this really cool, kind of like psychedelic closer. That song is killer. Yeah, I think the production of this album is honestly pretty stellar. This actually was produced by Rick Rubin, of all people, which, you know, I think Rick Rubin's very hit or miss when it comes to production, but I think he did a pretty damn fine job on this album. Like, yeah, again, love, like, all the artwork and stuff. Like, it's kind of, you know, again, much more 70s, 60s psychedelic kind of influence on this album, which, you know, is cool. And admittedly, again, this was my fifth place album when I ranked Trouble. It's not my favorite. I think the first four albums are definitely stronger. But regardless, I do still absolutely love this album. And again, all the songs I mentioned are killer. Yeah, Trouble, Manic Frustration. If you're a doom metal fan worth your weight, then you should be intimately familiar with who these guys are. Yeah, if you're not familiar with Trouble, though, I would say probably start with one of the first four, because again, that's kind of their stronger era in my opinion. But still, this is a killer album. I absolutely love it. Yeah, Manic Frustration, not much else to say. It's a killer album. All right, so those are all the CDs and the tapes out of the way. So now let's talk about the vinyls that I have. I only got two to discuss, but they're both absolutely killer, so we're going to be talking about them. And the first vinyl I want to discuss is Cenotaph, the gloomy reflection of our hidden sorrows. This is the debut album from this Mexican death metal act. And yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite death metal albums, frankly. Here, I'll show you. It's a really cool colored vinyl as well. Look at that. Oh, that is beautiful. Get that in there. There we go. But yeah, this is, as I was saying, this is one of my all-time favorite death metal albums. I think this is one of the greatest death metal albums of all time, frankly. Yeah, so this album is pretty much perfect. I think, again, every single track on here is absolutely amazing. Ashes in the Rain, A Red Sky, Evoked Doom, To Neighbor's Apparitions, In the Cosmic Solitude, and there's a bonus track on here, The Repulsive Odor of Decomposition, which was a re-recording that was on the earlier To Neighbor's Apparitions EP. But yeah, dude, the production of this album is just so thick and heavy. It's so dense. And yeah, the songwriting is just absolutely incredible. Like, again, it's kind of very much in the vein of like Incantation a little bit, where it's that very cavernous, kind of heavy death metal. But again, you get kind of like some of the doomy elements as well, which I think really gives these songs just such amazing kind of like dynamics and makes each of these songs stand apart from one another. Daniel Cortado's vocals on this album, just low, gnarly growls, and I could go on and on about how much I just absolutely adore this album. Yeah, I'm so happy that I finally got a copy of this. Yeah, again, this is without a doubt my favorite album by this band. I like this band's later material, but doesn't quite match up to this debut, because this debut was just one of the heaviest albums I've ever heard in my life, honestly. Yeah, again, the production is just so thick and heavy. If you've not heard this and you're a fan of Incantation, Infestor, Demigod, The Chasm, which obviously, The Chasm and Cenotaph are kind of tied, obviously, but if you like any of those bands, if you're just like that real cavernous, heavy kind of death metal, the real kind of like gross, oozing kind of death metal, this is an essential release, in my opinion. I absolutely love Zen, one of my all-time favorite metal albums. Yeah, no, Cenotaph, Gloomy Reflections of Our Hidden Sorrows. This is just an absolutely amazing album, and here I'm going to quickly put you back into your little slippy slip before I continue about the last album. Back in you go, little one. Alright, and here we have the final album that I'm going to be discussing. Here, I'll take it out of this thing because it's currently all sealed up a little bit. And it is some more black metal. Oh, there we go. And we're going to be talking about, yeah, and forgive my pronunciation, but this is Sielunvihollinen and their album Kuolankilavia. Again, apologies to any of my Finnish viewers. I am so sorry for absolutely butchering your beautiful language. But yeah, dude, this album is absolutely killer. Sielunvihollinen, again, my love of the Finnish black metal is very well documented on this channel, and yeah, I feel like these guys are, again, they're just killer Finnish black metal. I will say, I think they stand out a little bit more than a lot of their contemporaries, because they definitely incorporate a lot more melody in their music than a lot of the other Finnish black metal bands. Like, I wouldn't necessarily call them like flat out like melodic black metal or anything, but there's definitely a little bit more emphasis on melody than some of their contemporaries, which gives these songs, you know, again, more dynamic, give them a little bit more edge. I think they're absolutely killer, and yeah, no, I absolutely love this band, and this album is absolutely killer. Yeah, I think this band's whole back catalog is pretty much brilliant, but this album is definitely kind of a standout one to me. And yeah, no, I just dig this album. Again, if you like stuff like Behexen, Sargeist, again, Marduk's also a bit of a strong comparison, Horna, Satanic Warmaster. If you just like Finnish black metal, check this out. This is a killer release. Again, if you like Finnish black metal but maybe want a little bit more emphasis on melody, this is an absolutely killer release. Sielunvihollinen, okay, I give up. But yeah, killer album, even if I can't pronounce it. Really awesome album. Oh, excuse me. And well, sorry about, I don't know if you can hear, but my dog is absolutely going crazy right now, so apologies for that. But yeah, that concludes this little collection update of mine. And yeah, this video is getting quite long, so I'm just going to quickly wrap it up here. If you made it to the end of this video, you are awesome, and I appreciate you. Do consider leaving a like if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what are some albums that you picked up recently. I would love to hear, because I love reading your guys' comments about albums that you picked up recently. I would love to see what you guys have recently acquired yourselves. And if you're not subscribed, do consider subscribing, because I do have a lot more content coming your way. And, well, that about does it. I am just another Heavy Metal Maniac. I'll see you all sometime in the future. In the meantime, all of you take care and have a great day. So long.